Hi everybody, this is Alchemist2, and I'm back again with another book review. I recently picked up Land of Stories at my local Wally World, and honestly, I wasn't really sure what to think about it. I looked at the cover and I thought, that looks intriguing. I might as well see what it's all about. So I did, and I didn't regret a single moment of it. I actually finished this in one day flat. It is written by Colfer, as you can see on the spine. Oops. He played Kurt Hummel in Glee, and honestly, I did not know that he could write a fantasy novel. And I was just literally taken by surprise by this book. And it is truly a beautiful, magical book filled with different perspectives in this tale of coming of age, finding oneself, discovering one's worth. Um, there's so many different lessons that can be learned, and well, fairy tales themselves are moral in nature, and it describes that in this book very, very well. And the quintessential characters are our hero and our heroine. See, they're twins. You've got Connor and Alex, and they are as different as night is from day. And Alex is the super smart teacher's pet who gets everything right and is just incredulously intelligent, including her vocabulary, which is very verbose. Her brother is the incarnation of laziness and sloth. He falls asleep in class and he can't seem to pay attention. He usually has a rubber band trick. He talks about that in the book, and it was one part that really made me giggle. He would take the rubber band and snap it so he would waken right before the teacher could catch him nodding off. And and at one point in time, that little trick fails to work and he gets in trouble again. Um, Now the whole idea of the title itself, The Land of Stories. I'm going to give you a small spoiler. Please don't hate me. Now, Alex and Connor, they they're kind of lower income, and their mother is just trying to make ends meet because their father was killed. I won't say how, but it's rather tragic. And she's just trying to do her best to make ends meet at the hospital with whatever shifts she can find. Um, they see their grandmother, but infrequently, and they love their grandmother. She's probably one of the most amazing people they've ever met, and she has a gift for story that is unmatched. It's kind of like my grandmother. I just was reminded of her her love of nursery rhymes when I was young, and she gave me the true version, the Grimm's fairy tales, which I love, and I know they're kind of gruesome, but I would rather have the direct version than the watered down version that was meant to not scare little children and unhinge them in their youth. That's actually just a warning for children to be careful and not to trust people too readily. I'm talking about Red Riding Hood, if you know what I mean. Um, but Chris actually stays very in tune with the original writer's intent, Grimm and Hans Christian Andersen. He uses riddles, which I absolutely adore. It's kind of like The Hobbit in that way. It reminded me of Snow White and the Huntsman, a little bit with a more ominous tone, and the rivalry between the evil queen and Snow White, similar. Same thing with Once Upon a Time, just fairy tale land itself, and the Land of Stories, the book. which is kept by their grandmother. It's just something that she's held on for ages, and it's something very precious to Alex and Connor, just listening to the stories growing up. And she gives it to them on their birthday, and they don't want to accept it. They're a bit reluctant, and they're wondering why their grandmother would give them something so invaluable. Well, she says that she trusts them, and she feels that they are ready, quote unquote, to receive this gift. And it turns out that the book is enchanted. Yeah, and then this is where things become very interesting. I won't say what happens next, but the book itself is just really magical and wonderful and beautifully written, and the illustrations in here are just absolutely gorgeous. Uh, let me go ahead and show you a picture from chapter 3. So they receive something that they weren't expecting, including the visit from their grandmother. And the illustrations are just so meticulously done and just really brightens up your imagination. Of course, I could see all these things happening in my mind, and I was just thinking of all the different characters, what they will look like. But he describes them very well with his visual language, and he's very descriptive, which I really like. And I think this is probably one of the best fantasy books I've read in a long time. Not discounting the Inkheart series or Golden Compass, Harry Potter, Anne McCaffrey. Let's not forget Anne McCaffrey. Brandon Mull. Of course, Brandon Mull is one of my absolute favorites. And Rick Riordan is also another one I really enjoy. But Rick I would more classify into the mythology realm rather than fantasy, but I guess that fits together. Same thing with Scott, because I love um, Michael Scott, but I feel like he is like Riordan in the aspect that he writes a combination of different things, including a little bit of sci-fi with the Vimanas, which I talked about in my last few reviews. As far as to what I am up to, well, actually, I'm going to give this an actual rating before I go on to that. 5 stars, without a doubt. 2 thumbs way up. And it is completely tremendous. Just an outstanding book. Um, if you are interested in fairy tales, or you love fairy tales, you grew up with them like I did, this is a great addition to what you already know. It just gives little twists and turns, and it's very fun to read. It's extremely entertaining, and Chris Colfer is just incredible. He's so talented. I never knew that he could write a fantasy novel, and I don't doubt anything that he can do now. Um, I'm hoping that he writes more, because this was just fantastic. I really mean that. I'm not just saying it. Um, a friend of mine and I are working on a prequel to the soon to be King of Mobadoon. It's called The Ascension of the Blue Blur. It's actually based on a story in Archie Comics back in 1999. Instead of Sally stepping into the source of all, accepting her destiny, yada yada yada, it's Sonic who does that, and it's you combine that with essences of Six as a Crowd, and Hedgehog and the Iron Mask, and other episodes of Sonic Underground, which I've been watching recently. Combining that with Archie Comics, and you get this. I wrote I wrote a fan fiction. I have no idea where this came from. It came from left field completely. It was a combination of Lazy Town and Aquabats. Yeah, don't look at me, please. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Um, it was fun to write. I had a I had a kick writing it because I got to put one of my favorite villainesses in it, Ava Mudlark. I just love her. I don't know what it is about her, but I love her. She's just insane. and has a fetish with dirt that no sane person should ever have. But anyway, moving on. Uh, I did a panty stocking with garter belt fanfic. Not Oh, I did that quite a long time ago. Oh, I'm working on a story. What's not a story? It's a script. It's called Machiavelli. It's about a man who is a mafioso. He's kind of considered the lowest of the low, scum of the earth, despicable. But he really isn't all that bad. It's like I took a lot of what I know about Al Capone, which strangely enough I didn't know until just recently, and I had read this in the most unlikely of sources. Um, according to this book that has readings by Edgar Casey in it, Alphonse Capone wasn't really all that bad of a guy. He did charitable work. He gave his clothing and food to the poor, well, because he could. But, I thought, I was right. Al wasn't all that bad. And the same thing can be said of Carlo Machiavelli, and his son's name is Stefano. And I thought that this was before I became a fan of PewDiePie. So I was looking at that. I've been looking at his amnesia videos, and I thought that must have been where I got the inspiration for Stefano. Ugh, crazy, crazy, crazy. I get the strangest inspirations from the weirdest places, but I thank him for that. Because now there's a character named Stefano in my script, so I don't think it's coincidence. And I'm doing a fan art of Happy Wheels. It's just the little boy character looking up at Pewdie, and it, you can't see it, but it's hysterical. It just says, Dad, boy, don't question my logic. And that was one of my favorite things that he said, other than double ninja swords. Um, he just says the most random things, and he's just hilarious. And if I'm having a bad day, I just watch him play through Happy Wheels or Amnesia or The Grudge or whichever. It's I know this sounds kind of mean, but I like hearing him scream like a little girl. And I shouldn't, because if I were playing a horror game, or the horror games that he was playing, which I would never do, especially in a dark room alone, I would be probably wetting myself and screaming like a little girl. So, sorry about that. No, I don't wish harm on anybody. Ever. No, I just couldn't. But he's got a lot of spine for doing what he does, and I give him props for that. So keep doing what you're doing, Beauty. Um, not really sure what else to say, other than I will be doing a review of Stubbornly Persistent Illusion ASAP. So until then, ciao.